Like I go down every kind of cost, and I'm totally unapologetic that I'm asking you to do something great. I'm calling forth the greatness in you. I'm asking you to do something that you maybe don't even think you can do. And that's the only way that I know that transformation happens.
Bienvenida y bienvenido a Wellness Talks. Conversaciones entre personas que saben que el bienestar, ese que todos anhelamos co-crear, depende de hacer negocios honestos y congruentes que integren todas las esferas del bienestar dentro del modelo de negocio mismo. Acompáñame en esta danza valiente para seguir diseñando el entorno empresarial que determinará el futuro del bienestar. Tiago. Long before he was my friend, he was a familiar name in my inbox. His newsletter opened several worlds for me. It gave me the intuition and quiet encouragement to start seeing myself as a digital nomad, to imagine that I too could become a course creator, a generator of ideas and meaning. Tiago made sense to people like me, people who find inspiration in every book, every ad, every conversation, and never quite know what to do with all the notes, screenshots, and scraps of paper we accumulate. Through building a second brain, Tiago didn't just offer tools, he gave me serenity, the reassurance that I wasn't alone. That a few minutes of intentional reflection on how I was consuming the world could become a way of producing it, of creating things worth sharing, worth being proud of. Back then, I never imagined I'd meet him, even less that he turned out to be better in person than he is online, even less that he'd like me, visit my home, and one day teach inside my own program. But life unfolds in unexpected ways, and today I'm prouder to call him a friend and to know he calls me one than of any of the projects we've shared or we will share in the future. Because ultimately, this is what I received from Tiago. A man humble enough to forever call himself a wanderer, and courageous enough to show the world exactly where he stands, what he seeks for himself, his family, and his work. He sets goals like no one I've ever met, yet always leaves enough space not to be trapped by them. Believe me, that balance is rare among the many high achievers I've met. Tiago is a walking library, yet he knows that words, knowledge, credentials, bank accounts, and bestsellers are only part of the game. He's really playing the somatic game of life. What does real presence mean? What does love mean? What can we bring home? And how can we bring more healing into the world? He's gone from building the productive life to creating the examined life. And now, beyond both identities, I see him choosing the somatic life. That's why I invited him today to the wellness talks we'll be sharing, where we will talk about the evolution of digital businesses and online communities, how to create an online space for learning and transformation in the age of AI, how AI is basically changing a lot of things, and what are the things we're afraid to say because we don't know exactly what is going to happen. I also want to talk about the evolution of wellness businesses in the artificial intelligence era, and how to design your own life when there's no real or no clear model to copy. Because I think Tiago has been building a lifestyle that people will be copying him. So thank you, Tiago, for showing me that wandering can create things both beautiful and useful. Most of all, for showing me that no matter the outer successes, if I choose that path, I will never regret it. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you so much, Victor. What a wonderful, wonderful introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a ride meeting you. I think that life brought us together, and we shared many things. But I remember specifically one day we were at the sauna for two hours, and we just knew that with few words we were connected in many ways. The podcast for today is basically going into the philosophy and business and digital arenas that you move around with the overarching topic of wellness. As you know, these are wellness talks, and they are basically a gateway so that we can go deeper into the philosophical questions of wellness, but also the business side of wellness and how the business industry is understanding the word wellness and reinventing it as we go with all the products, services, and business models that we're seeing. So to take off the conversation, I would love to take me a bit in your history on how your own quest for personal wellness gave you the entrance to the digital world, to the note-taking world, and to taking responsibility for your health and the tools you had to create so that you could overcome some of those challenges.
Yes. Yeah, I mean my story, my career really began with this debilitating chronic illness. When I was, how old was I? 22 or 23. So almost 20 years ago now. And it just came out of nowhere. One day I was working at the Apple store in San Diego in college, and I began feeling this, it felt like a little tickle, like just a little strange feeling in the right side of my throat. And I just thought, oh, I must be getting a cold or flu or something. It was not the cold or flu. Because it just kept getting worse over months and then years. I eventually, to make a very long story short, saw over a dozen doctors in several countries, paid probably tens of thousands of dollars, trying everything I could, explored every specialty that Western medicine had to offer, ended up eventually I never received a diagnosis to this day. Never actually know for sure what it was. But at one point, I was taking this powerful medication called carbamazepine, which had the effect of numbing my entire body. That was like the only solution that I could find, which of course was just excruciating and just made my life really, really painful and gave me a lot of suffering doing that. Um, and then I sort of as a beyond the last resort, when I was so desperate, I finally started exploring beyond Western medicine. I really had to be forced to do that because I'm a very left brain analytical thinker. And I started exploring, meditation retreats and psychedelics and Chinese medicine and somatic work, body work. And I found that each of those modalities I mentioned gave me more relief than the most powerful tools that Western medicine could offer. And that was so surprising to me and couldn't be explained. Um, and set me off on a path of really exploring the esoteric, the the body's intuition and emotions and instinct. Had me explore kind of beyond the bounds of rationality. What does the intellectual mind not understand? What does it not grasp? What can it not do? Um, and then I think I went to the other extreme, and then I kind of came back to the middle, to where I am today, which is really the integration of the two. I think that's what it's all about in pretty much any domain of life, in productivity, in business, but also in health, in relationships, in psychology. It's not that it's funny that the left brain, right brain distinction is now kind of outdated. We know it's not that simple, but I still like to use left brain, right brain. They both have something very important to offer. They both have a unique perspective. Neither one is the true one or the correct one or the perfect one, but I try to integrate the two in everything I do. And that's where I am today.
Yeah, and I think what it got my attention initially from that story. It's not only that it gave you relief, like opening your mind to other modalities, but it also gave you, I think, a sense of aliveness, of purpose also, and in a sense, it also gave you the tools so that you become your own medicine. You had to create systems and ways of taking notes about all the things you were researching and putting that into a single system that was coherent, made you basically the founder of this second brain revolution, which is basically organizing a lot of things. And now is a beautiful business, a beautiful community, which uh, has a lot of tools, but also a lot of purpose, meaning, community, and heart. And I think that's important because projects that will transcend will have to integrate all the areas in our lives and make it in a business in a way. Tell me a bit about your communities. You started teaching online, reaching out to a lot of people all over the world. creating a weekly newsletter that basically created a huge community. What have you learned in the past 10 years about online communities? How is that evolving with all these social media craze and now with AI creating a lot of the content we're seeing?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I've learned so much.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the first big turning point that I think will also be highly relevant to all of you is, I mean, really the crucial turning point in my whole career, my whole business was discovering the power, the impact, and of course, the immense profitability, the potential, the business potential of live programs delivered online. That combination, and I still remember I was in my first one of my first Zoom calls. This was like mid 2016 when Zoom was new. Do you all remember the first Zoom calls? You know, getting on and being like, "What are we doing here? What's going on here?" You know, um, and it was actually a class. It was a writing class taught by a blogger that I follow, who decided, you know what, I don't want to sit in front of a camera and record all these pre-recorded videos. That's how you did courses before. You spent days sitting in front of a camera by yourself teaching to a camera, right? And he said, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to get on Zoom and teach you live. And I saw that and I realized, wow, this is way easier to deliver because it's spontaneous, it's dynamic. You're there, you can see people's reactions, you can talk, you can interact, you can coach. It's way more dynamic, way more fun, way more spontaneous, way more human. And at the same time, you could charge so much more. You know, at the time, just like today, most courses cost like $25 or $50 or $100. But with a live online program, you can really frame it in a completely different way, which is small group coaching. That's really what it is. It's teaching and it's small group coaching. And you can charge 10x, 20x, sometimes more for that. And so I did that. And I started teaching this live online program called Building a Second Brain. Um, which to this day is with our main business and what we do. We slowly over time raise the price and at the same time raise the number of people. That's the key thing you can do online is you can raise the price at the same time that you deliver the number of customers, and those things don't conflict, right? To the point that mid-pandemic we had 1,000 people in a cohort. We had 1,000 people in a single group, all on the same Zoom call. And if you imagine, you know, a service business, like a coaching business or a teaching business or a consulting business, how long would it take you to reach 1,000 people? It would take you a decade or more.
And how has that evolved over time in terms of because the market also got saturated with online courses and online cohorts, and most of us or many of us are still in the game, but some left. But how do you see 2026? This how will the business model evolve so that it stays relevant?
Yes, great question. So there's actually one other bit of context I think that I should say first, which is, and this is kind of the reason I'm here. Um, I really have a deep heart and passion for, uh, I guess the term you would use is like wellness service providers. You know, massage therapists, physical trainers, nutritionists, doctors, nurses, everyone who is in the field is in the a role of giving people their time and their skills and their energy and their knowledge in some kind of service. When I first started my self-employed career in San Francisco, I was a productivity coach, which may not sound like a wellness practice, but it kind of is. It's like wellness in their productivity, wellness in their work. And it was great. I enjoyed it. I was good at it. I was making good money. I was making an impact, but it was just totally unsustainable. And this is what I see with almost every wellness practitioner is this set of problems, you know, the fact that you're trading your time for money and you can never get beyond the hourly rate. Even if the hourly rate is super high, it's still time for money. The fact that you're always sliding towards burnout, right? And it's hard to take a vacation because you stop working, that means your income stopped. The difficulty of scaling, you know, and reaching more people. the difficulty of delegating and getting anyone else to come in and do what you do. All these problems, which I imagine many of you share. So I see all the online stuff, the live online programs, but also the newsletter, the YouTube channel. We now have a paid membership community. Even the books, everything in a funny way are just ways of solving all those problems. How to make your works more sustainable, more scalable, more impactful, more profitable. Because the core is the same. The core is your personal knowledge and expertise. That's what nothing can replace, not even AI. And so everything else is just like a extension and an amplification of that core expertise. So I would say, um, so to answer your question, the first round of live online programs, which are also called cohort-based courses, was the pandemic. The pandemic was the Cambrian explosion of cohort-based courses. And it was out of necessity. Suddenly everyone was stuck at home. They had all this time, um, and they were seeking human interaction. They also wanted to like invest in themselves since they were often working from home and all this stuff. And so a bunch of us came in and started teaching. But then after the pandemic, it went down again. As you mentioned, it got saturated, it got competitive. People suddenly realized, oh, I've paid thousands of dollars for all these courses, but I never finished them, or they weren't good, or I regretted it. And so there was this decline. And people said, oh, the death of online courses or cohort-based courses. But I think so. So first of all, the online education market is very cyclical. So that always happens anyway. Any given topic, any given format, any given delivery method just goes like this. It's like a roller coaster, which is why you need different things going on to kind of balance each other. But I think right now with AI, we're seeing a second explosion, a second generation that is going to be like 10 up to 100x larger, or at least. We recently, after several years, we stopped our online programs. Just this past spring, a few months ago, we returned to them. And our first launch in like more than 3 years was one of our biggest ones ever. And it's for all the same reasons. People once again are lonely because they work with AI all day and often remotely and are missing human connection. The need to learn is bigger than ever, like to learn AI, but really anything. And there's just this hunger for these kind of more intensive, immersive educational experiences. But you're so right. That doesn't mean you can just like, oh, I'm teaching this thing and people will flood in. The other big thing that's changed over the last 5 years is the online landscape of content and social media and YouTube, everything is way more competitive. It's way more, there's way more of it. It's more commercialized, right? It's not no longer these little hobbyist content creators just like making stuff that they're kind of interested in. It's like these media empires that are on the landscape kind of competing against each other. So you have to be smarter about it. You have to put more effort into it.
What I've loved about your courses is the human interaction that you foster. Because at the end of the day, you said it's one thing, it's teaching online, but the other one is basically small group coaching. Can you talk about that small group coaching concept and how the power of the community steps in as part of co-teachers, basically? I saw you launch now the alumni mentor program, for example, which I think is genius. And I think creating the space to invite people to take a course, but at the same time support others is what basically will do this as a integrative learning experience. Tell me a bit more about that.
Yes, this is so important. This is so important. And I think this is a huge mindset shift or a series of mindset shifts that most people never go through. They never go through. And here's how I think of it is, you know, as a service provider, whether you're a coach, a consultant, a contractor, an advisor, a freelancer, a expert of some kind, whatever it is, there's this paradigm of I am the expert, I have the knowledge and expertise, and I am imparting it onto you. Like it's obvious, right? Unquestioned. And that's what people are paying you for. You give them your knowledge expertise, they give you their money. That's how you have to start. That's how it begins, but that's just the first stage. That's only the beginning. You cannot, assuming you want to go beyond yourself and achieve that sustainability, impact, scale that I was talking about, you have to let go of that paradigm. You have to go beyond it because you're just one person. You're just one human being. And you have limitations and you will not be around forever and you want to take vacations. And so you have to think about what lies beyond that. And there's a few things. Um, what I saw in the cohorts over time is as they grew, I became less important. I became less important in a few different ways. So um, if you think of like a university, think of all the different roles in a university. Yes, there's the professors, right? But there's also the head of the university and the whole administration. There's also the teaching assistants, and there's the lab assistants, and there's the guidance counselors. There's 100 different roles in a university, and each one of those has an analog, has a parallel in online education. So the way that I kind of see it is I start off as a teacher, as a sole teacher, just teaching my students directly, but then I kind of want to go up the levels. So the first kind of level up can be I am the professor, but then I have teaching assistants who are what we call alumni mentors, right? And they are sort of the front line. They're the front line workers, right? They're doing, if you think of teaching as a whole bundle of skills, many of those skills don't have to be done by me. You know, maybe the lecturing does at first, but the answering questions, the questions that are obvious that we know the answer to, the like providing support and working through problems other people can do, the emotional support. This is always so underrated. The human, the listening ear, and someone that's just giving you empathy and encouraging you and telling you that you can do it. Absolutely does. Not only does it have to be done by me, I'm not even particularly good at that. And so you just start replacing that bundle of skills one by one, and your role starts receding and shrinking. Your time that you have to spend starts shrinking until eventually, and this did happen, I just exited completely. And
I
the
love it.
cohorts could run without my involvement, which was amazing.
Yeah. I would say that you are good with emotional support. I think you are because you genuinely think that every learning experience must include the body, include the emotional. We need to, go through emotional and mental barriers. And because you now learn that way, you understand that others will learn the same way. So that I saw you change a lot of your style over time. Instead of just giving information, beginning with breath work, closing your eyes, meditating, and really connecting with the person. And I think you've done amazingly, not because you planned, but because it's part of your nature now. And the other thing I would say is that it's also interesting this thing that's happening in the wellness arena, which is we always look also for the guru, the doctor who will know exactly which disease I have and he'll tell me what to do, or the course mentor like Tiago Forte will tell me. But at the end of the day, it's the guru, the health professional, the course teacher saying, just take a look at the mirror or take a look at your community, and together you'll figure it out and you'll get your tool. So stop looking at me the same way. If you want to create a business, you don't want your customers looking at you. You want your customers looking at themselves. And you are a guide, you are a coach, you are the curator of the community that will support that journey. And I think that's a paradox here, right? Because there's the personal branding side of things where you have to portray yourself as the know-it-all. But at the end of the day, it's just because you want them to be with you so that you can show them your friends, your colleagues, your alumni, whatever interests you, and then let them play around, basically.
Yes, it's so important. It's so important. And I think you're right. It's like in business, this mindset is well known, right? The whole point of a founder is to found an organization that can run without you, right? Your exit plan, your exit strategy, that's well known. In fact, if you're unable to exit, that means the business is much weaker, much more vulnerable. But in the world of like teaching, that's less common because you have the guru model. The guru, I am the guru. I know everything. I always have to be there managing everything. So I think that's a mindset I've adopted from the business world. And I think the ultimate, as part of that, the ultimate goal of a teacher should be to make your students autonomous. If you are keeping them dependent on you for the long term, you've failed them.
Yes.
You've not done your duty. You want them to go off and not need you anymore.
That's probably the definition of illness or even or addiction. And I think that's happening in all the industries of wellness. Like if you make them addicted to your product because your product is the only one who will give you mental health or wellness, is just hooking everyone to a product or a service. So I always say we have to think of business models of how you are making yourself obsolete. Your product becomes obsolete so that people really step beyond what you offer them initially. You can basically give them a lot of things throughout their lives, but if the product is always, yes, giving them the relief or the learning or whatever, but keeping them in the same place, that's not really wellness. And one of the definition of wellness is empowering and getting to higher levels of potential. So I think this is true in teaching, but it's also true with products, services, even hotels, food, apps, everything that's on the wellness industry arena, I think.
Yeah, that's so beautifully said. There's a funny thing here where um, I noticed that my students, I really see them as my community. They're like friends. They're people I know. When I go to different cities, I meet up with them. I don't see them as these subordinates that I am in authority over. I see them as peers. It's a peer-to-peer community. And at one point, I was thinking, oh well, I want them to go on and be autonomous and be independent. But then like they'll leave, and I'll miss them, and we won't hang out. But then this was so interesting in our online program where I started to realize that the next step, I could sort of create a next step for them, which was leadership. Like I could start to give them responsibility. I could start to give them some authority, a role. And so we started creating these levels. The first one was alumni mentor we mentioned, which is quite low level. You're just asking them to host a call and to kind of like facilitate lightly. But then we had senior mentors, right? Who themselves were managing mentors. And then eventually some even joined the core team. And now they were on the inside, serving our customers. I think for that one cohort that we had 1,000 people, I think there were like almost 50 people on like the internal team, right? And only a handful of them were employees, so I didn't have this huge cost structure. I think we paid them a nominal amount, like $500 or something. But then I saw, and the thing I really noticed is these were incredible opportunities for these people. These were people that would not otherwise have leadership opportunities. They're not part of some university or some big corporation or some institution. I was creating the institution, a kind of institution that didn't exist, teaching, knowledge management. And so it was such a win. It was a win for me. I got to delegate my duties. It was a win for them. They got to step into leadership. And it was a win for our customers. Because this is the other thing, is like you just have one point of view. You have one perspective. That is not the ultimate perspective. And you will not be able to reach everyone from your vantage point. You need this surround sound, this whole collection of different perspectives, because each perspective is a bridge to a new kind of person.
Yeah, I love this. In diabetes, in cancer, in obesity, in chronic disease, the groups are doing better than the one-on-one consultations with the health professionals. And the groups are just other ill patients. It's crazy, but it takes a village to create a healthy person and a business and a transformation process. And I think what you've tapped into, it's not easily sold. Like, for example, I'm now creating my new landing page for the new cohort that will be launching in November. And I know I can sell if I say, oh, Tiago Forte will teach, and this person will teach, and we'll give you a lot of information and presentations, and But I know the transformation. Yes, you live with inspiration, and you live with a Google Drive with a lot of slides, and you'll be happy. That's for sure. But what I'm now designing the new course is through, as you do, the implementation labs, which is sit down. This is the homework for today. You paid for this 50, 60-minute Zoom, and you have to work. And then you'll have to show the work to others, which that's not attractive. You want someone who just delivers information as if you can download it to your brain and the transformation is done. But no, it's through work. So I'm now like, how do you build a landing page that sells in that sense, but at the same time, the product will be much more. You have to sit down and do the work yourself with the community, and you have to pay big dollars to join that community.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this always fascinates me. The business dynamics of how you actually do this. Um, yeah, a couple of things come to mind. One is I always say all of our programs are Trojan horses. They it's funny. It's like but you're sort of tricking them benevolently. It's benevolent tricking. Because part of the problem is that the people who come to you, whether students or clients or customers, don't know what they need. That's by definition. If they knew what they needed, they wouldn't need you. So in a sense, they're coming to you to try to solve the wrong problem. So you need to speak to that, right? You don't want to come and say, "No, you're ignorant, you don't understand, you don't know what you need." You speak to the need like so directly. I always love the concept of you have to describe their problems and their symptoms better than they themselves can. That's the standard that you have to meet. So they're like, "Oh my gosh, this person understands me better than I understand myself." But then as you draw them in, the Trojan horse opens and it's really a process of education. And this could happen through the marketing. I see when I think of our programs, to me, the program starts when the marketing starts. And the first half of the program is through the marketing. And so by the time the actual classes start, they're already halfway through their educational journey. Um, but one of the most common comments that we receive is like, "Oh, I didn't even understand what I was signing up to." That's a good thing for them to say. Like, "Oh, I thought I was getting A, but it was actually B and C," or "I thought I was only getting this, but it ended up being that." That's, I think, how you describe a process of transformation. There should be surprises along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And my thing here is how to like, and this is parallel to what we teach in the course, which is wellness advertising will talk to you as if they have the answer for your illness or whatever you're lacking, right? Either if they're selling a 3-day retreat or they're selling whatever. And I know that the phrase I use with what you just said is give the people what they want so you can earn the right to give them what they need.
Totally.
And in that sense, I I don't want to feel them tricked because I know when we talk in the course about wellness marketing, we know everyone is using those tricks, which is not very ethical. And at the end of the day, you're treating your client as if something you can manipulate. But at the same time, you have to be, yes, talking to whatever they don't know exactly how to articulate and making sure your product does deliver on its promise. And I think that's the next step for people like you and I. Like we can sell, but can we deliver? That's the thing, and that's what we need as an industry to focus also not only on the selling and the. I love what you say that your marketing campaign is part of the product itself, the education, but also focusing on the product. Is it really delivering the transformation that your ad says?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is the program itself has to be outstanding. I mean, that's just non-negotiable. That's the root of everything. If you don't have that, then nothing else will matter, nothing else will work. And we put just a tremendous amount. We put so much time and effort into every aspect of the program. And that's another thing people are surprised by. They always think they're signing up to just sit in a Zoom and have someone lecture at them. And then we have all these activities and different breakout rooms, and we have these interactive formats, and we have tools that we give them, and we give them examples and case studies and so much more. And it's all in service of that transformation, which is such a high bar. Like that word is thrown around a lot, but like transformation is possible. It's totally possible. And
Yeah.
in a way, that's what you need to deliver.
Yeah. The other paradox or contradiction here is that transformation is there, it's possible, but it takes time. So people say, I'll enroll in your course, pay for 10 hours, and I'll be transformed on the other side. But 10 hours is nothing. But people don't want to pay for a program that lasts 30 hours. Or if you sell the 10-hour course and then all these materials and group sessions and all these things, how many of the people really stay there and how many they don't? Because at the end of the day, I think there's also that problem with the time, right? Because also the wellness industry has sold us the idea that transformation happens in 5 minutes with the right coach or the right product.
Yeah, it's so true. And this is something I often notice is when you first get into online marketing or just online products, the dominant mindset is you have to make everything easy, right? Everything has to be just a click away. The emails have to be short. The videos have to be like explain like you're a 5-year-old. You can't ask too much time. You really have to minimize the time you ask. The price, of course, has to be reasonable. And there's a time and there's a place for all of that, maybe when you're just beginning. But I think over time, you want to keep kind of going up the ladder and going up the scale to the point where you completely reject all that. You completely reject all that. Like my mindset now is like we live in a convenience consumed world. Every aspect of our society is becoming convenience oriented. You don't have to put an effort for anything. You can have a coffee delivered to your door. You can have, especially, I mean, the US is at a whole nother level. Like, literally any service you can think of is just a few taps on your phone. But I don't think of it that way. I think of our programs as I am asking something really difficult of you. And I'm very upfront about it. This is not easy. It's not quick. And I ask on every dimension. I ask a lot of money, thousands of dollars. I ask the time that you're going to spend. I often say it's like you will have a part-time job, like 10 to 15 hours a week for the duration of this program. Don't expect anything less. Like I go down every kind of cost and I'm totally unapologetic that I'm asking you to do something great. I'm calling forth the greatness in you. I'm asking you to do something that you maybe don't even think you can do. And that's the only way that I know that transformation happens.
I love this. I love this, we can extrapolate this to all the other services of and products in the wellness arena. Like this requires commitment, requires time, requires a deep search of who you are and what are you up to. And like you inspire me because you've been successful with that level of sincerity, of honesty. And that's also what we're calling for other business to do. Like, do it how you would like to sell, how you would like to be sold, consume how you like to consume. And not, don't use the tricks of others where you don't like those. And I think that's beautiful because seeing models like you, at least for me, it inspires me of continuing in this path and not taking all the advice of these viral ways, which there's also huge businesses, and the Alex Hormozis and all these guys doing millions, but really monetizing dopamine and leaving you on the same way. And I think we as health and wellness entrepreneurs have to choose which game we will play. And at least with what I see with your numbers is that there's also a huge business on this side of the equation where when you left your last retreat with Joe Hudson, like you really poured your fucking heart out in that blog post, 10-page blog post, and you redesigned the approach to your course based on a few epiphanies, and that's really courageous. So yes, thank you for inspiring us in that sense because I think this is exactly what we're seeking ourselves in our wellness businesses.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's another great piece of advice is like the best material you have is your story. Your behind the scenes story, messy, vulnerable with especially the mistakes and the failures. And this is another sort of mindset shift is like we're taught as professionals to just be all buttoned up, to have look like we have everything figured out and to look professional. I think that's a very outdated mindset. I mean, the internet and social media has just destroyed that. And it's an incredible realization. It's so surprising that that level of vulnerability, even about your mistakes or failures, not only doesn't damage your credibility, it enhances your credibility. Transparency and vulnerability is the key to credibility in the modern age. And I think if you're wondering, what content to create or what marketing to send out or just what to say to these people, there's just simply no better content than your story.
How has your disclosure of intimate, personal, families, things, information, relationships has evolved over time? Because sometimes I feel you share a lot, and sometimes I feel that you, because I know you on the other side, I know that you also choose which things to share and in which media also. How do you think about those things between being radical transparency and at the same time, uh, I would say, yeah, but yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I think there's a really key difference between, there's some content creators, a lot of content creators that are directly monetizing their personal lives in a very explicit way. I mean, I'm sure you've seen them. There's entire accounts that are just like little clips and scenes from their daily lives with their kids, and their kids are the stars of the channel. And their kids are like even like when the kid is upset and crying and they're like, "Oh, let me teach you a way to." I find that very dangerous. I was gonna say wrong. I don't know if it's wrong. Maybe there's I don't know. I'm open-minded about it, but I really have no interest in that. And so my kids will appear, but very briefly and only incidentally, as like a 3 second, 4 second B-roll shot. But they don't speak. There's nothing about their personal lives, who they are. They're not, I don't think they're exploited in any way. They're just really the background to give you a bit of context on who I am. And then I do share very vulnerably but really about my internal psychology, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. And at least so far, there's been no way where that can really be used against me. Strangely, it's like it's the most intimate stuff cannot be used against you. But I don't really talk much about my relationship with my wife or my kids. I don't talk about, obviously don't disclose details that could be used to like blackmail me or to hack me or anything like that. In that sense, I'm very private.
Yeah. Yeah, although I think you navigate a very beautiful line because you do have like podcast with your wife, you do share a few things of your life, but I think it's not the whole story, which I think it's the way it should be, at least with your very close relationships.
Yeah.
So let's move into the last part of this conversation. I think we will have to keep the AI topic for another conversation. I always dream that I'll be in a jacuzzi with you, looking at the stars and just talking about AI for 10 hours, which we will do someday. Um, but before I jump into questions from the audience here, I would love to get an advice from you regarding the evolution of the Wellness Business Lab, which you were a teacher last year. And I'm now relaunching with this new approach with more labs and more sharing. And I'm basically trying to give less topics and more time to work on the basics of your wellness business and come out the other way with more understanding of what is exactly that you're doing with your business in terms of narrative, in terms of the product and the transformation you're promising to your patients or your clients, and not going into all the other topics which I think in wellness require a bit of stability in the core business so that you can then discuss other things. But I don't know, probably that's not enough context. But you know the program and you know me, so I'll take whatever you can give me.
So are you asking like where I think you should take the Wellness Business Lab next?
Yeah, what probably yes. What's the opportunity you see with all the wellness small companies or entrepreneurs that are not beginning? They have like 10, 20 years of experience in a medical practice with a product, with a retreat center, but they are resetting and they want to engage all the learnings that they've accumulated over the past 10, 20 years and put it forward as a new offering, a new product, a new company even.
So speaking to the participants in your program.
Yes, or to me. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, a couple things come to mind. So there's sort of there's something there's a key element that everything that I've described about my work and my business depends on. Everything from how we can charge high prices to how we can ask so much of people's time to how we can sell, fill these cohorts, which is the audience. The audience and specifically I mean the email list is the heart of it all. The fact that every time we come out with something new, whether it's a book, a self-paced course, a live course, a Notion template, whatever it is, we have an email list. Our email list is about 100,000 people that have proactively said, I want to be part of this list. And then we clean the list every year. So if you don't open an email for like 90 days, you get removed. And so we know it's highly engaged. And so that's really the core business asset is the email list. And that size and engagement of email list depends on content creation, which is like the big sort of frontier of our time, right? And so it's kind of interesting because you as the creator of the lab tend to attract people on your same wavelength, right? And so I kind of wonder, I kind of sense that both for you, Victor, and everyone else in the program, that this is kind of one of the key decisions. Tell me if you agree, but like there's the decision of whether to become a content creator at all, whether to invest significant amounts in it and do it seriously, which platform to choose, how to approach that platform, how to monetize that following once you build it are really key questions. And I've noticed I think you've sort of struggled or you've had an interesting relationship with that question because sometimes you go full in that way, but then I notice you sort of maybe pull back and then you consider it. It's like your emails that you send are right on the border of content creation, but I sense maybe you have some hesitation.
Yes. And I'll tell you how I'm trying to solve it. I I began to see myself as an artist, and I love that. And once I had to write specific things to deliver or to get something out of that, I started thinking more as a businessman, marketer, and I said my freedom here is being a bit constrained. So what I'm trying to do now is my personal brand, and I think this is not orthodox and probably ill-advised, but I want to be free to do whatever I want, even if I want to post pictures of my toilet, so that I feel free and I see it more. But the business, I want to open its own channel. I'll be the head of it, but that will be more the personality of the person who obviously uses its life, his story, and everything. I'm not portraying myself as other thing, but one side of my identity will be much more clear in that area, which it's more difficult because then you have to create the whole ecosystem and the whole business mailing list and social media, whatever. But I don't know. At least for now, I think that's where I'm going because they probably you can answer this, but they tell me like you have to choose because you are so wide ranged in your interests and in your endeavors that people don't really get exactly who you are, and I think that's a good thing. I don't get myself, but when you want to sell something, that can be confusing. And how what would you tell me? Yeah.
So I feel like you can what the internet enables is you to embrace those wide-ranging interests. And this is a question that I mean everyone on the call that any as you contemplate content creation that you have to answer, are you going to lead with you as the person, right? Your face and the little bubble thing, you know, your name in the name of whatever it is, the Facebook page, the Instagram account, the YouTube channel, whatever it is. Um, are you going to lead as a person or as a business? Or you can also lead as a topic. Some channels are now topic specific. It's like the diabetes portal or the, you know, the book review club. Like it's a topic. You can choose one, you can do multiple. But I feel like Victor, I feel like you'd be on the same page as me and many others of you as well, which is I'm totally with you. I do absolutely refuse to edit or curate any aspect of myself. I want to explore and talk about and write about and interview every person and topic and thing under the sun. Uh, and so I do that, and most of my accounts are under my own name, and the business is sort of subordinate to that. It's like I think generally online people want to follow people. Like they don't want you don't want to follow a business. Like you're on, think about it, you're on Instagram. Do you really want to follow, you know, Nestle or whatever? No, you want to follow like a person. So I think there's a lot of power in leading with your you as the person, and then your business is sort of for those who like what you say about business topics, for those who want to work with you, for those who get your vibe, you have this pathway, which is just one of many pathways to the business and to the work.
Yes, yes, I love that, my friend. I love that. And I think that being courageous to show that we have many interests and that we want to combine knowledge and that we want to feel free, it's something that inspires and encourages others to do so because they also feel constrained on the same way most of the time. And now that we have AI, and I think there will be more interdisciplinary work and more businesses bringing together, different areas of knowledge and experience. I think that should be encouraged. I see that the future of humanity, uh, this sounds like a grandiose word, but the future of humanity does, in a sense, depend of us not being so specialized in different areas, but to generate more, convergence and all these things. So yeah, thank you, my friend, for all this conversation. It's always a pleasure, and you open my mind in so many ways. Thank you. You're a lovely person and a very wise person. So I'm very happy and very privileged to have you in my life. Thank you so much. I have one or two time for one or two questions, so I'll just jump into them. Ivan, please go ahead and ask your question because we will have to end the call in 5 minutes.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Victor, for having such a great host like Tiago. Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. I know him since many years. Tiago, this is one question, and if you will have to start your business all over again, what will be either the path you will follow or the main two or three topics that you will focus on? I mean, and knowing all the tools that we have nowadays available that maybe were different from when you started.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I love my business and what I do so much. I would do it exactly the same. But you're right, it's a whole different era. In fact, on the internet, about every 3 to 5 years is like a whole new era. It's one way to think about it. Like I notice if I talk to another content creator that was either 3 to 5 years, started 3 to 5 years before me or after me, it's like talking to someone of a different generation. They're on different not even the platforms, but just like the way they think, how they understand algorithms, how they even like conceive of what they do is different. And so I think it's important to ask, like, if you're starting, assuming you're starting now or you're starting online now, yeah, what is the platform that makes sense? I think today it's very clearly short form video. Short
Mhm.
form video is just it is an utterly different paradigm, even than YouTube, even than long-term video. And it requires such a different mindset, which I would say is like complete spontaneity, vulnerability, and direct personal connection in a way that no other medium supports. I wouldn't put any production value into it. It's really just getting on, those videos where you could tell they're just picking up the phone, like there's no clean cuts, nothing is, which is actually great. Like the short form video is probably the most accessible format to get started that I've ever seen. Way more than YouTube, way more than blogging, way more than newsletters. And also the fact that pretty much on every platform now, algorithms are all about whether this specific piece of content resonates rather than your following. In the past, you had to have a huge following. Now, like there's some research on this. Your following hardly matters. Like if you create a piece of content that resonates, there's no ceiling on it. It can go to the millions, regardless of how many followers you have, which for people like me is discouraging because I'm like, I spent all these years building a following. Now it doesn't matter. Great. So I would say short form video.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you for the tip and advice.
absolutely.
Thank you, Ivan.
Absolutely.
Do we have time for one more question or
Yeah.
how? Yeah,
Yeah. Let's do one more.
good. Anyone else wants to raise their hands? I'd say, Tiago, just following up on short form video. Yes, we need good content on short form because it's also like destroying our brains. So we'll need to find a way. We have a question here from Kalyan. Kaur, please shoot.
You're unmuted now.
Oh, okay. Great. I was writing. Well, I am sorry I was late, but these topics really resonate with the way I feel. I'm an academic. I'm in an interdisciplinary center in the University of Coahuila in the north of Mexico, and I'm also a yogi. Yogini, whatever you call it, Kundalini yogi, and I follow Victor from a while back, and I really admire the sincerity and honesty. I really don't have a question because I was too late. I'm so sorry, but I just wanted to let you know, guys, that this is very important. What we're talking here is very important for a lot of people. I mean, struggling between putting yourself out there and being honest and not being driven by the media. And yeah, it's like a struggle every day. So I have my business, Kundalini Yoga business, and I do trainings. But and I also want to bring my, my academic side to it. So part of the interdisciplinary area where I know that listening to others is very important, and I would like to see young people involved in this honesty. I know there's a lot of people, but maybe then a question comes up. how do you connect with these young people that are, so in the thumb? So
Gosh, I have that same question. It's funny what I really notice because we have analytics that show the age of our audience. And it's like on a graph, it's a bell curve, right? It's a normal distribution with the center exactly on my age. So our average follower is 41, like me. And then as you get further from that age, right? And that of course, as I age, my audience ages exactly along with me. And that was good to know that I don't really have to try to be cool. I mean, part of it is the millennials is the biggest because that's what that is. The millennial generation is the biggest generation in history. So I kind of lucked out on that. But any generation is more than you need, right? So I would say just it's useful to just understand who already follows you, who you already resonate with, and just keep doubling down on them. You don't have to unless you want to, unless it'd be fun, try to appeal to other generations. They're gonna have their own thought leaders with their own accounts and their own followings.
Thank you, Kalyan. Thank you for sharing and for connecting with us. Um, I have one more raised hand, but I know you have a call, Tiago, right?
Yes, I have to go.
Yes. So I'll try to get to her question after you leave. Just let me close this conversation with you. Thank you so much for being here. I invite everyone on this call to join our Wellness Business Lab as well as Tiago's program on building your AI brain. I'm putting here on the chat the links. And thank you, Tiago. Thank you for sharing your humanity with us. And yeah, I hope we can do this some other time to go deep into other topics related to this. You are a great teacher, great person, great friend, and we're all very happy and lucky to have you. You have a great day, my friend.
Thank you so much, Victor, and all of you. It was such a pleasure. Mucho gusto y suerte con los esfuerzos.
Gracias, amigo. Muchas gracias.
Bye bye.
Bye. Buen día. Pues gracias a todos y a todas por haberse conectado. Ana Sofía ¿quieres hacer tu pregunta, Ana Sofía? Tenemos unos minutitos. Adelante.
Ya. Sí, quisiera aprovechar que entramos en este tema. Justo estoy como pasando una transición yo soy fisioterapeuta y me especializo en osteopatía, estrés crónico y sistema nervioso autónomo. Entonces, me fascina todo lo que he ido estudiando para la atención a las personas, pero ya no está siendo sostenible para mi vida personal el imaginarme que de esto tengo que vivir. Entonces hago un plan y justo lo que comentó ahorita Tiago del burnout y que te sientes como que si te quieres dar una vacación, tienes que pensar en qué cantidad de pacientes y pues aparte los pacientes están muy cargados, entonces estoy como que buscando maneras de organizar mi agenda de una forma, ya obviamente ya
Te
no puedo
entiendo.
atender la cantidad que veía antes. Y estoy metiéndome como a la parte digital, pero siento mucha resistencia. Ahorita acabo de crear mi primer taller en línea que justo van a ser con un seguimiento de 4 semanas y es como pues o sea, no estoy haciendo una plataforma con muchos seguidores ni nada así, pero veo que mi creatividad se sigue viendo mermada por la atención a los pacientes aquí. Tanto, o sea, no sé, como que me cuesta encontrar ese balance y
Te voy a interrumpir porque esto es algo que está sucediendo más de lo que tú crees. Todos los profesionales de la salud creen que son los únicos. Y la verdad no está sola, es un tema que está construido en un sistema. Yo me imagino que tiene que ver un poco con que los primeros profesionales de la salud trabajaban en pueblitos y no tenían redes sociales y no tenían coches. Y entonces pues consultaban con las personas que estaban en la cuadra, que en la colonia, ¿no? En fin, eso lo cuento de una manera, chistosa, ¿no? No sabemos exacto de dónde viene, pero el modelo está hecho de un lugar donde mismo la salud nos damos cuenta que en algunos casos, aunque haya demasiada interacción con los profesionales de la salud, no necesariamente es lo único que va a sostener el cambio, ¿no? Y lo que estamos viendo en el lab con los profesionales de la salud que se suman es, primero, encontrar la manera de nombrar el problema, ¿no? Porque si no se nombra, pues nada más sientes que tú eres la única que estás mal y ya vas en ese buen paso. Segundo, darte cuenta que si quieres generar mayor impacto, también salirte de tu consulta puede ayudar. Y no nada más en el sentido de llegar a más personas creando contenido, sino también atendiendo a tus pacientes desde otro lugar, en programas educativos, con grupos, con comunidades, con otras cosas que no necesariamente dependen del tiempo de nadie de uno a uno. Y tres, también elevar los precios en algunos casos cuando realmente puedes prometer un cambio de antes y después, porque lo has visto, tienes una metodología probada y también no estás intentando que tus pacientes se queden contigo para siempre, sino por ciertos periodos de tiempo donde les llevas de un estado A un estado B, ¿no? Entonces, tu pregunta es muy amplia, pero lo que yo te diría en base a lo que dices del contenido, creo que lo que he visto mucho con profesionales de la salud es que tienen mucha gana de explicar las cosas que ellos saben, pero les cuesta mucho trabajo hablar de sí mismos y hablar de sus propios procesos. Y cuando lo empiezan a hacer, se dan cuenta que lo que ellos dicen también es parcial, porque ellos son más complejos de lo que ellos tratan a sus pacientes, porque a veces también los encierran en algunas narrativas. Entonces yo te invitaría a que más que ver si te va a ir bien o no compartiendo, es que pruebes y lo veas no como un objetivo que quieres cumplir, sino como un proceso que quieres vivir, como un profesional que está saliendo al mundo a compartirse. Y de ahí yo creo que vas a encontrar ideas, formatos, medios, comunidades que van a resonar y te van a poder ir diciendo hacia dónde podrías llevar ese tema de creación de contenido, porque ahí hay muchas personalidades y formas de hacerlo. Y tal vez yo estoy reflejando un poquito lo que dije en el podcast hoy, o sea, lo hice muy a mi manera y no la quiero perder. Tiago lo hizo muy a su manera y no lo quiere perder. Entonces, ¿cuál es tu manera? No la sabes, pero no le tienes que copiar a nadie. Intenta buscando y probando y a ver qué pasa. Ese sería mi consejo, que no es un consejo, es más bien una óptica de lo que estamos viendo en el laboratorio.
Sí, no, muchísimas gracias. Sí, me sirve mucho justo. O sea, cuando vi que iban a tener esta plática fue que son las personas con las que necesito conversar, definitivamente. Y muchas gracias por abrir este espacio. Voy a estar pendiente de las actividades que haya y espero ir al Congreso.
Gracias, gracias. Ojalá puedas venir al Congreso del 4 al 6 de octubre. Y también el grupo no lo he anunciado, pero es probable que empecemos en noviembre. Va a ser un grupo, pues mucho de este tipo de personas que estamos en esto juntos. Y mira, ahorita te veo en este video, estás en tu celular, ya lo empezaste a hablar, ya prendiste la cámara, prendiste el micrófono, ya expresaste. O sea, así se empieza, ¿sabes? Y más que así se empieza, así se continúa. A final de cuentas, siempre es tú y tu historia. Y el chiste es nada más encontrar nuestros espacios seguros para que pues, nos sintamos de alguna manera, no nada más hablándole a un mundo que pues, está allá afuera y que estamos compitiendo, y no digo porque queramos la atención, pero estamos compitiendo con mucha banalidad. Y la salud y el bienestar tiene un grado de intimidad, de espiritualidad, de sacralidad que solamente se logra si de verdad nos arriesgamos a ser así de vulnerables y la cámara es buena, pero también puede ser mala. Entonces, yo digo que no hay respuesta en eso más que probarlo y ver cómo vamos evolucionando tanto individualmente como colectivamente. Así es que te deseo mucho éxito. Tendremos una próxima Wellness Talks, estamos por anunciarla. Si no están
Muchas
inscritos en los...
gracias.
Perdón, es que me fui directo a contestar una pregunta, es que yo ahorita ya tengo algo también con mi familia. Pero bueno, tendremos una próxima plática, varias a lo largo de los siguientes meses de estos temas. También yo siempre me encanta recibir sus correos sobre temas de bienestar, dónde están ustedes en sus negocios, cuál es la transformación que están viviendo. Entonces ya les dejé mi correo personal, favor de no compartirlo, nada más si lo quieren usar, escríbanme. Y bueno, les puedo recomendar contenidos, materiales, simplemente iniciar una amistad o continuarla. Así es que bueno, les agradezco muchísimo, la verdad me encanta ver caras nuevas y también caras familiares. Y bueno, pues me llenan de energía. Estas conversaciones toman mucho tiempo en preparación y cuando estoy aquí digo, híjole, es lo único que quiero hacer 10 horas por día. Así es que bueno, ojalá sea así también su trabajo. Les deseo una feliz tarde Y pues gracias por estar aquí.